Welcome to this episode on the Health and Happiness Show, where it's my mission to change your mindset so that you can live a healthy and happier life. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Let's go. Hey guys, it's Ollie here, and welcome back to another episode on the Health and Happiness Show. Today, we are diving deep into the word happiness, and specifically the pursuit of happiness. Happiness is something that we all want in our lives, and something that we all don't want is unhappiness. Yet the difference is right now there's probably a larger degree of unhappiness in your life than there is happiness. And that is why we are on this pursuit. We are all on this pursuit to having more and experiencing greater happiness in our lives. And very much what this podcast today is going to dive deep into is, what is that pursuit? What does it look like? And ultimately, and if we can, how can we reach that end goal of happiness? And to do that, I want to ask you a question. I want to ask you a question right now. Are you happy? And take a minute, take your time answering that question, because how you answer that question will determine not only the rest of this podcast, but actually the rest of your direction in your life. Are you happy? And if you're not happy, that's okay. And the reason why I want to tell you it's okay is because, one, like I said, we are all in the position and we are all in this pursuit of greater happiness in our life. And that never ends, okay? But let me tell you this. I know myself what it's like to be unhappy, because it wasn't so long ago that happiness and my health was taken away from me by cancer. And during those dark and difficult days, I learned what it was like to lose my health and happiness in that moment. It was scary and it was uncertain, right? But I've got it back, and I am blessed to say, I am grateful to say today that I am happy. And I want to dissect, I want to reverse engineer why that is. Why am I happy, and how have I got to this point? So hopefully that I can share the same message and give you the same principles that you can apply to your own life today. Look, there is no definition of happiness, and what makes you happy will not make me happy. What makes me happy may not make you happy. That's the very beauty and nature of happiness. Happiness is individual. It's to you and for you as well. Happiness may be measured in the amount of money someone has. Happiness may be measured in the amount of time they have. Happiness may be measured in the family that surrounds you. Happiness may be surrounding the impact, right? Your definition of happiness is your definition. And actually, that is one of the starting points to this, is getting the idea in your head of what's going to make you happy. Look, if losing a stone is going to make you happy, then that is something that we need to pursue to help you get there, right? Because if you don't lose weight, then you're never going to reach that state of great happiness, right? Because yes, you can have the family, the business, the career, the home, but if you're never fully happy within your own skin, then you're never going to reach the state of happiness. This again is why there are 4 pillars within the Academy: mind, body, love, and soul, because we work on each of those 4 pillars to create a great state of health and happiness. But going back to my question, are you happy? And take the time now to really answer that question. Are you happy? And if you're not, that's okay. That's the purpose of this podcast today. If you are, I want to say congratulations, because that is the goal, right? The goal, yes, may be to lose weight. The goal may be, yes, to build a successful career. But the goal is 2 things: health and happiness. Because let me tell you this: without health, look, you're never gonna be happy. I've been there. And without happiness, without happiness in our life, it's an incomplete feeling. It's a lack of fulfillment, and most importantly, it's a lack of meaning as well. So we need both. And if you have that right now, if you have your health and happiness, then in my opinion, you've won the lottery. You've hit the jackpot with it. But if you don't have either, then that's okay as well. And that's what we're going to dissect into. If you are happy, reverse engineer that and look at what you've done up until that point to get to that point, right? Because success leaves clues, and if you can look at what you've done to get to that state of happiness, then keep repeating that. So for example, in relation to the weight, right? No one's going to be happy with themselves or reach a level of happiness if they continually hate what they see in the mirror. So if they change that through going to the gym 3 times a week, through eating a good diet, through, doing yoga, whatever it is, right? They reverse engineer that and go, oh, right, okay, that helped me lose the weight and thus become happier. Therefore, I need to repeat that more within my time. But if you're not happy, then I have one question for you. If you're not happy, then I have one question. Are you committed to the pursuit of happiness? If you're not, then I would politely ask that you stop this podcast right here. If you are, then it's time to get excited, because you are going to discover how you can achieve and feel and experience happiness. The Pursuit of Happiness is the title of this podcast, but I want to reframe that. I want to reframe that and ask, what is that pursuit? Is it really happiness, or is it purpose? The Pursuit of Happiness, that is the title, but actually what I'm saying here is it's the pursuit of purpose that is ultimately going to lead to happiness. Therefore, my next question to you today is this: do you have a purpose? And secondly, do you know your purpose? I want to share with you a quote, and I encourage you to write this one down because it's one of the most powerful quotes in my opinion that I've come across, and it's impacted me on a profound level. And that is this: he who has a why to live for can overcome any how. Let me repeat that. He who has a why to live for can overcome any how. What does that quote mean? He who has a why, your why being your purpose, can overcome any how. How do I get there? How do I overcome this challenge? How do I overcome this obstacle, right? He who has a why to live for can overcome any how. That is the pursuit of purpose, and that I can tell you now, spoiler alert, will lead to the greatest amount of happiness in your life. Therefore, it's not the pursuit of happiness, it's the pursuit of purpose that's going to create the happiness in your life. So we need to tap into our why. We need to dig deep into what is our why, and if you don't know that question, then that there lies why you are not as happy as you would like to be. And if you do know your purpose, then we need to ensure that our values and our vision align to what that purpose is. The pursuit of happiness isn't happiness, it's purpose. So, discovering your purpose. How do we discover your purpose? Well, I want to tell you something. The primary motivational force of an individual is to find a meaning in life, also known as your purpose. What is that meaning for you? What does that look like? How does it look? How does it feel? How does it smell? What is that meaning for you? Well, look, I'm going to help you uncover that. And to do that, we're going to look at 3 ways. Number 1, by doing work that you love or a significant deed for others. Number 2, by experiencing something or encountering someone. And number 3, by the attitude to which we take forward unavoidable suffering. Let's start with the first one, with work. When you think about it, work plays a pretty big part of your life and therefore your happiness. I've been in work, so to speak, since the age of 14, right? That's 10 years of my life dedicated to work, and that's going to be another dedication for the next decade, and 2 decades, and 3, 4, 5 decades following that. Work plays a pretty big part of your life and therefore your happiness. Therefore, if you are not happy in the work that you are doing today, then you are never going to reach a state of happiness. Similar to the way that we look in the mirror, similar to the way to the relations that we have, similar to the amount of money in our bank account, right? We're never going to reach a state of happiness if we don't address all of these individual areas, right? And given that number 1 is about work, you have to look at the work that you're doing today and ask, is that work providing happiness? Is that work leading me to find meaning in my life? Look, there's no right or wrong answer in terms of what is that profession, what does that work look like. Let me tell you this, some of the best, hardest workers that I know are mothers. My mum was a full-time mum raising me, right? That's what it comes down to. So work, again, like happiness is your definition of it, okay? But the work that you're doing plays a pretty big part of your life. Therefore, you need to ask, is this creating the happiness in my life that I so want? Because let me tell you this, right? You know, you may fear failure, I fear regret. And that's why every single waking day, I am blessed because I am doing something I'm truly passionate about. Does your work today give you fulfillment? Does it give you meaning? If it doesn't, that's okay, because you've just identified what you need to address to move forward in your life and move towards greater happiness in your life. And again, finally, will you look back on your life one day and wish you'd done X instead of Y? Point number 2, and I want to show you this quote. The salvation of man is through love and in love. Do you have a love for life? Do you jump out of bed in the morning or hit snooze? Where in your life do you lack love and therefore happiness? Look, guys, we need to understand first and foremost, we are creatures of emotion, and the most powerful emotion on planet Earth is love. Do you have a love for life? And to answer that question, let me ask you this again. When that alarm clock goes off in the morning, what do you do? Do you jump out of bed ready to tackle the day, or do you hit snooze? Again, I'm never judging, I'm only observing, and I'm provoking these questions that you ask of yourself today that's going to initiate the change that's going to lead to a healthy and happier life. But the very reality of it is, if you're hitting snooze, okay, look, forget laying in for a second, that's completely different. But when that alarm clock goes off, 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., if you hit snooze, you are essentially delaying getting up 5, 10, 15 minutes, because there's obviously an element of unhappiness in getting up 5, 10, or 15 minutes sooner, right? And the happier moment in that decision is you staying in bed. This is what we need to identify, and this is a great question to ask. If you're not jumping out of bed, then maybe that's leaving clues. Maybe that's saying, actually, something needs addressing within my life. Point 3, I will share you this quote. Suffering in and of itself is meaningless. We give our suffering meaning let me say that again. Suffering in and of itself is meaningless. We give our suffering meaning by the way in which we respond to it. Okay? You've got to love a stutter, right? I actually, let's just go back to when I was a child. I actually learned to speak again because I had a stutter so bad, because I was born with my neck glued to my shoulder, literally, right? True story. That's why I do have a stutter. But look, no one's perfect, okay? So let me say that one more time because it is so profound. Suffering in and of itself is meaningless. We give our suffering meaning by the way in which we respond to it. What does that mean? Let me tell you this. You cannot control what happens to you in life, but you can always control one thing. What is that one thing? Your attitude. Look, I couldn't control getting cancer. Look, maybe I could. Look, that's a conversation for another day. But the point is, I couldn't control, and I certainly didn't choose to get cancer at the age of 21 years old, right? I didn't choose that, and I couldn't control it to a certain extent. But what I could control in that moment, and what I did for 3 years, was I would control my attitude that became my mindset, and mindset that I cultivated over that 3-year period that I'm blessed with today, that I now have an opportunity to share with you right now. You cannot control what happens to you in life, but you can always control your attitude. One of the biggest blessings of my job is hearing people's stories, and part of that story is learning of the suffering that they've gone through. Wait, hold on, I want to hear them suffer? Yeah. Why? Because it showed me that they are strong, that they are resilient, that they are disciplined to get through the darkest days of their life. And it's choking me up now because this is the power of it. I have had the opportunity of working with people who have gone through a divorce, people who have had a miscarriage, people who have been raped, people who have had their children sexually abused, right? And this is why it is my blessing to get to work with such strong and amazing people, because helping them get through that next chapter of their life, helping them get to that next stage of health and happiness in their life is the biggest blessing of all. And that's why I love this, right? I was going to swear, but then I have to put it as explicit, and that's the whole world of her. So look, that's my point, right? So relate this back to yourself for a second. Think of all of the crap that you've had to go through in your life. Well, I am proud of you listening to this podcast right now. Do you want to know why? Because you have overcome every single struggle that has come into your life right now, right? And one of my favorite quotes from Ben Bukowski is, I have succeeded more than most because I have struggled more than most. Therefore, success, again, it depends on what your definition of that is, can be measured by the number of struggles that you've had and overcome. Everyone is fighting a battle that you know nothing about. And the fact that you're still here today, the fact that you're listening to this podcast today, I have the greatest amount of respect for you. So thank you. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for being on this podcast with me right now, because I am damn proud of you. I am damn proud of you. And I hope that actually after this podcast, you may reach out and I'll get to hear your story a little bit more, because it means the absolute world to me. It's the best part of my job. Number 2. Change your perspective. I started this title with the pursuit of happiness. I moved it on to the pursuit of purpose. And now I want to talk about the power of perspective. And to do so, I want to share with you 2 quotes. Yes, I'm a man of quotes. I pretty much have a whole book of quotes. No, I don't really, but I actually kind of do in a way. 2 quotes. I encourage you to write these down. Number 1, we have 2 lives, and the second begins when we realize we only have one, said by Confucius. The second quote, the 2 most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why, by Mark Twain. Let's go back to the first one. We have 2 lives, and the second begins when we realize we only had one. Why do I say cancer is my blessing? Yes, it helped cultivate a mindset, but more than that, it gave me perspective. And it gave me perspective in the sense of, I learned that day, the day I got diagnosed, that actually you only get one life. And when the consultant's telling you, Ollie, you may not see your 26th birthday, that gives you perspective. I then changed my perspective in the situation by finding the gratitude and by finding the blessing in my brain cancer diagnosis. I was lucky to be given a 5-year prognosis. Jesus Christ, some people get 5 weeks, right? You want to talk about perspective? Consider that. And let me tell you this, when you spend a lot of time in the hospital, you spend a lot of time in the cancer ward, and when you see the patients who cannot even feed themselves, cannot even move themselves, cannot even do all of the basic things that we take for granted for right now, oh my God, do you get perspective, right? And that is why 99.9% of the complaining that we do is irrelevant, it's pointless, it's meaningless, right? You want to talk about meaning, power, purpose? That's what it's about. Perspective is a superpower because it changes everything. That second quote, the 2 most important days in your life, the day you are born and the day you find out why, relating to our purpose. I encourage you to really, really, truly dig deep into what is your why? What is your why? I then encourage you to go a layer deeper and ask, if I wasn't doing what I'm doing today, what would I be doing? I would also put the perspective that I want you to fast forward 40, 50, 60 years from now. And when you're into your old age and you're looking on, you're laying on your deathbed, what would you say to your 20, 30, 40-year-old self? In fact, if you can do this for me, this would mean the world. You don't have to share it with me. I wouldn't ask that. But I've done this exercise myself and with my academy students in the past, and it works incredibly. Write a letter from your 90-year-old self to yourself today. What advice would you give? What would you look out for? How would you overcome the challenges that you have? It's so powerful. And part of that power lies within, what would you change? What in your heart and soul do you know that isn't giving you the fulfillment, the meaning, or the happiness in your life right now? Look, are you in a job you hate? Are you in a relationship you're unhappy in? Is it toxic? Is it abusive even? Right? Like, what is going to create happiness in your life? Reverse engineer that. Rephrase that. What is going to give you the purpose in your life, that pursuit of purpose, attaining and acquiring that purpose, and then change the perspective on that. What can I do today and every day to get on that pursuit, to finding my purpose, to feeling, reaching and experiencing that purpose that ultimately is going to create the greatest amount of happiness in my life. I hope today's provoked thought. I hope today's instigated ideas about what you can do to get started today. But let me tell you this, I am happy today. And I do not say that from a place of ego or for arrogance, right? I say that from a place of gratitude and perspective. 3 years ago, I lost my health and happiness. Today, I have both. Today, I'm blessed. Today, I have the opportunity every day to now help my academy students live healthier and happier lives. That's a blessing. That's a blessing. Because it was, and here's the craziest part. Going back to how struggles become strengths in life. I wouldn't have discovered my purpose if I wasn't in pain with cancer. I would not have the opportunity today to work with genuinely the most amazing bunch of people within the Health and Happiness Academy if I didn't go through cancer. Therefore, pain and the most painful period of my life became my purpose and has since become my happiness. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. As always, please subscribe if you haven't already, and do leave a review because it will mean the world to me. And one level deeper than that, please reach out to me after this podcast. Let me know that you've listened to it. Let me know what value, if any, that you got from it. And tell me this. Answer me this question. This will stay private and anonymous. Are you happy? And have you discovered your purpose yet? Thank you. Stay healthy. Be happy. Until next time, take care.